to Dixie Sun News at Noon. I'm Stephanie Dupar.
And I'm Monique Chavez. Thanks for tuning in. Dixie State Police are finally getting their recognition as an official police department. The DSUPD will be presented with a plaque of accreditation at the Board of Trustees meeting tomorrow, which will officially mark them as part of the Utah Chief of Police Accreditation Alliance. Our police department has been gaining points over the last 6 months in order to meet the qualifications, earning a grand total of 168 proof points. Congratulations, DSU Police and Chief Blair Barfus. DSU Career Services has created a passport program to help students on their career adventure. There are 3 different categories in the passport: develop your career, engage in your career, and make connections in your career. Each student will be required to participate in a total of 12 different activities throughout the school year in order to be eligible to win prizes. Register through Handshake to begin your adventure. If you're a fan of podcasts and think you have what it takes to start one of your own, now you can. The Radio Dixie podcast room is officially up and running. This room is completely free for our students, faculty, and staff to use for any of their creative needs. The room is completely soundproof and equipped with multiple microphones, lighting equipment, cameras, and an audio board for live video broadcasting. Students have already begun to start their own shows. The room is located in the Radio Dixie room in the Jennings Communication Building. For more information, contact the Director of Radio Dixie, Sean Denovan.
If you like driving fast on Utah roads, this one's for you. The Utah Supreme Court has ruled that a traffic violation does not mean that you are entitled to the right to a trial by jury. The ruling also extends to any offenses that may mean less than 30 days of incarceration or a minor fine, which means if you have a minor offense or infraction and you try to fight it in court, there are no guarantees to a trial by jury, at least in the state of Utah. Across the nation, plastic straws are being eliminated in favor of more environmentally friendly options. Here on campus, Jackson Chapman investigates what campus is doing to decrease plastic waste.
Dixie State Dining utilizes single-use plastic and styrofoam when handing out their food. Let's take a look at the effect this is having on the environment and whether there are any other options. It is estimated that plastic takes 1,000 years to decompose. Styrofoam, however, will never decompose and stays in our environment forever. America alone throws away around 25 billion styrofoam cups every year, many of which come from Dixie State Dining. So what is Dixie State doing to move away from this harmful material?
What we're trying to do is have everyone buy our mugs, and you get 2 fills for free, so it pays for itself. And then fills after that are 95 cents for soda, $1.27 for coffee.
It's kind of difficult when it's like to go. I know we were thinking about doing like reusable trays, and if people bring back the reusable trays, they get a discount. But with the college campus, it's slightly more difficult to not use plastic.
Reusable cups, plastic cups, we just wash them. It's just a bunch of extra garbage that we don't need on this planet.
We're trying really hard to get away from using the styrofoam and regular straws. Like we use a straw that you wash and that you use every day. Saving money, you're helping the environment, and
Make sure you guys get out there and buy one of those reusable cups. This has been Jackson Chapman with Dixie Sun News.
Thank you, Jackson.
The American Sign Language program held its annual talent show, bringing a unique perspective from the ASL community. There was no interpreting in the show other than for announcements, so each performance was seen without prior context. The crowd filled up the Dunford Auditorium, just about maxed out the seating. Noticeably, non-ASL and ASL members alike showed support by participating and coming to watch the show. Students, professors, and longtime interpreters showcased stories and lyrics through ASL. Does going home for fall break not sound ideal? Well, DSU is offering 2 alternative fall breaks. This opportunity gives students the chance to enjoy their break in a new place while also doing community service. For $150, you can sign up to visit and volunteer at the Best Friends Animal Society in Kanab. For $250, you can visit and help clean Lake Powell. Spots are limited, so don't wait if you're interested. For more information, contact Spencer Richardson.
While the Staley Family Farm Corn Maze is a Southern Utah tradition, other fall events will be available to spice up the Halloween season. The new Red Rock Con is officially open to the public from September through October, Thursday through Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight. Tickets are available online for $13 and are $15 at the door. DSU may not be known for its music scene, but that's about to change. Reporter Josh Green spoke to 3 different bands around campus to see what they're all about.
Dixie has its own music scene coming onto campus featuring 4 local student bands.
Music is kind of something where you can communicate what you can't with words. I don't know, it's really the only way I can communicate with people in a deeper way.
Keepers of the Earth, 3-Day Weekend, Southwest Rambo, and MVN are all local bands bringing their music here on campus to the outdoor amphitheater near the fountain on October 10th.
It's like just rock music with like depressing lyrics, influenced by like old 80s stuff, 90s, and a lot of sugary poppy stuff from right now. We have the ability to just lose our minds and go cuckoo and do things that people wouldn't expect us to do.
Very few opportunities to like act like that and be like that, but be proud of what you're doing. Like it's not a joke.
Yeah,
you know,
be silly but cool at the same time.
You can get up there and you're actually excited about what it is that you're putting out into the world, I guess, you know.
The dream,
Super Bowl Korea, dog.
we ironically say Super Bowl in Korea or arenas in China, but realistically just awesome shows. Because there's nothing more fulfilling at this point than playing just an awesome, really good show. If that's just crappy in a house show or in a big old theater for 1,000 people, there's literally, it seems like nothing can top just good feelings from awesome shows.
Going somewhere that you normally, there's no reason that you should be there for any reason whatsoever, but like you go there and you play music, people enjoy it, people are there for the same reason.
We're playing at the Fountain at Dixie State on October 10th.
For the Dixie Sun News, I'm Josh Green.
Be sure to check out the bands on October 10th at the Music Revolution Festival here on campus.
And I've always wished I could play an instrument, let alone be a part of a band.
I've got a ukulele, but I don't feel like that would do well in like any of those bands.
Yeah. When we come back, Mike Nelson will be joining me to answer a few questions about Inclusion Week.
3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. The big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden T holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun is gonna shine on me. Sun is gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
Welcome back. I'm here with Assistant Director of MIC, Mike Nelson. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. How have you seen inclusion at DSU change from when you were a student to now?
Oh, that's a good question. So I started in the late 90s when it was still Dixie College, and we've grown from a Dixie State College and now to a 4-year university. And I've seen a lot of growth, especially number one in the number of students, but also in the diversity of students. And I think that's something that really says a testament about the recruitment of students. And then also kind of like that steering away from the old Rebels mascot that we've had, and as we become Trailblazers, that brand that the institution has definitely changed the eyes of a lot of out-of-state and also local students.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I like the transition from the Rebels to the Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any improvements you think could still be made on campus today?
Absolutely. One of the things is that President Williams has instituted with the various members of our strategic plan was that status to stature, diversity and inclusion was a piece in it, and that for us that has as a testament of his willingness to put that and make it a big issue. When we look at diversity of employees, staff, and the faculty, but also the students, and that includes not just racial diversity, but also increasing the number of women in higher positions.
Yeah, and speaking of students, what do you think individuals could do to be more inclusive?
Well, I think the first thing is just invite somebody. I mean, there is a difference between diversity, which is differences of people, but inclusion is bringing them to the table, being and having them be a part of. One of the things that when I think about like having students that are included, we automatically can assume that it's if someone looks different, talks different, or whatnot, that they aren't a part of. But when we think about the demographics of our students, for example, first generation students, there are so many students that are first generation students, regardless of ethnicity, racial background, or whatever, that you can kind of create some of that identification. If you're sitting into a math class and your professor starts talking about some particular subject, you might not be the only one that's wondering, what's he talking about? Type of a thing. And then just really not knowing what kind of questions to ask as a first generation student.
Yeah, I think that's another group that you don't consider as part of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
But we're celebrating Inclusion Week right now on campus. So what is the main goal of this week?
Okay, so Inclusion Week came about with our annual Diversity Week. And we had a Diversity Week in the fall and in the spring. And as we started looking at the changing campus, we recognized that when people hear the word diversity, some of the assumptions are we're talking racial diversity. And that is in some cases. But then we start to forget that when we talk about the inclusion piece, our veterans, our women, and international students, the Disability Resource Center, some of those other groups that may not initially be considered. So we rebranded last year. We, instead of having 2 diversity weeks, we have Inclusion Week and we have Diversity Week. And the Inclusion Week, we aim to kind of cover a lot of those various areas. For example, last year we had a religious fair. We recognize that there's a lot of students that are coming from California, Nevada, Arizona, that the predominant religion in the state of Utah is different from where they're at. Mm-hmm. So we had that opportunity for students to come in to see options for that religious diversity, and that religious inclusion. So that's why we kind of branded it towards that end of not just racial diversity, but inclusion with various departments.
Yeah, I think that was a good idea to separate the two. What kind of reception have you seen from students and staff so far this week?
Okay. Well, obviously, we would love to have the whole campus at every event that we have. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There are conflicting events. A group may have an event this day at the same time as ours, and we try to be very strategic on when we place events, days and times. Like our first event we had, it was about meditation. It was a Meditation Monday, more about spirituality and mindfulness. And then on Tuesday we had an author meet and greet. And for some students that might be, not necessarily fun and exciting, but when we start looking at some of the topics and whatnot, we would have loved to have more students there engaging in the discussion, and it involved immigration, which is it was a pretty hot topic nowadays. Last night we had a movie on the lawn, and we watched Crazy Rich Asians. We had it over on north of the Gardner and the Whitehead lawn. popcorn chips, and it was a huge success. And you know, it was co-sponsored with DSUSA, our student government, and so it was a solid event so far. And this upcoming, you know, as we kind of wind down the week, we have 2 major events tonight and tomorrow. Tonight is our open mic night. So our open mic night, we have at least one a semester where you can do karaoke, you can play an instrument, you know, sing, tell a joke, spoken word, it doesn't matter, you know, and so it's pretty fun, you know, as students really get engaged in it. And then and that's tonight in the Gardner living room. And then around 7 p.m.
7, okay.
Yeah. And then on Friday is our paint night. It is in conjunction with our Professor Dennis Martinez of the art department. And that is where students will kind of have that Bob Ross type of vibe, where we have easels and paint canvases and acrylic paints, and they can paint under the direction of Professor Martinez. We have raffles. You know, it is kind of a RSVP. We have a few spots left. Show up. You know, you check in at 5:30. We start painting. And it's going to be a good experience, and it's in conjunction with our Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that we recognize each year.
And will students see these events these weeks coming like next year?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as a department, you know, we celebrate the various heritage months: Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American Heritage Month in November, Black History Month in February. We also recognize Women's History Month, Pacific Island Asian American Heritage Month. That's in March or in May, but we celebrate it in April because school's already out. And then various different activities and events. We'll, you know, help celebrate Martin Luther King. We do some stuff with the veterans. So these are kind of those events that we keep signature events year in, year out. But we did, again, emphasize Inclusion Week and Diversity Week. Okay,
that sounds great. And what would you say the MSC's goals as a whole for campus are?
Okay. For a goal, I mean, obviously, when I talked about that strategic plan is that inclusion piece. You know, what we want to do is be able to include all departments on campus. We want to be able to kind of create that inclusive environment for students so that, you know, they're not feeling in individual silos. You know, departments on campus, you know, they're not getting support from other, you know, student affairs officials or different departments. Again, not just recognizing that there's differences via diversity, but inclusion, bringing those people to the table, letting them have a voice, having them have input, not just when it comes to events, you know, but also as we go to the next strategic plan with policies and procedures and things in that to make it more inclusive, a learning environment for all of our students.
Well, thank you for being here today, and I will definitely try to make it to that painting night because that sounds super fun.
Great, great. Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. After the break, Michael Sanoscoy digs deep into the records broken by football over the weekend and how men and women's soccer did at their home games.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
There it is. Keep going with it. Leo!
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Hey guys, how are you today? Good. I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life. Is that you? That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
They gave me Vicodin after my knee surgery. They kept prescribing it, so I kept taking it. I didn't know it would be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. He's going to score. 22-yard touchdown.
Women's volleyball starts the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference 2-0 by defeating both Black Hills State and South Dakota Mines 3-0. This extends the women's volleyball team's winning streak to 6 games. The Trailblazers look to keep its winning streak rolling with a 4-game road trip, starting off with Western Colorado tomorrow night at 7 p.m. They'll also play against Colorado Mesa on Saturday, September 28th at 4 p.m. Men's golf has had a busy couple of days with the St. Martin's Invitational and Western Washington Invitational. The Trailblazers placed second at the St. Martin's Invitational with freshman Aman Udin leading the way with 6 under 66. The men's golf team couldn't follow their second place finish at the Western Washington Invitational, where they placed 5th in the match. Junior Spencer Wallace led the way for the Trailblazers with a -6-2-10. Men's golf will have their next match for the Western New Mexico RJGA South Central Preview at Albuquerque, New Mexico. Women's golf finished in 6th place at the Western New Mexico RJGA Shootout. Junior Kaylin Diebel paced the women's golf team with a final result of 2 over 74. The Trailblazers will have their next match at the 6th annual Dixie State Fall Invitational at the golf course at Sound Hollow Resort. Before the men's soccer team was set to take on MSU Denver, there was a 30-minute delay in the game. MSU Denver wore jerseys that matched DSU's home jerseys. The Trailblazers had to switch into different jerseys before they could even play the game. Men's soccer didn't let the delay faze them, and they defeated MSU Denver with a final score of 5-2, with senior forward Moises Medina getting a hat trick by getting 3 goals in the game. Hats off to you, Moises. The men's soccer team will also get ready for a 4-game road trip, starting off at Reggie's tomorrow at 3 p.m. and playing against UCCS on Sunday, September 29th at 1 p.m. The women's soccer team looked to continue their homestand going up against Reggie's and Black Hills State. DSU previously drew a draw against in-state rival Westminster by a final score of 1-1. Reggie's will come into the matchup against DSU, previously defeating Fort Lewis by a final score of 4-1. Black Hills State also come into the matchup against DSU with a win over Adams State with a final score of 1-0. The game against Reggie's will be tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. and Black Hills State will be on Sunday, September 29th at noon at Trailblazers Stadium. The DSU football team defeated New Mexico Highlands in historic fashion. Defense tacked on 4 interceptions with senior defensive back Aaron Simpson and sophomore defensive back Augustus Frazier, each taking 1 interception to the house for a touchdown, tying a single-game record with 2 interceptions returned for a touchdown. DSU offense had success running the ball with 269 yards rushing and putting up 3 touchdowns. Special teams also got in the action with senior running back Connor Miller breaking free and blocking a punt to the New Mexico Highland end zone, where sophomore defensive back Samoti Lokotui scooped up the loose ball for a touchdown, recording the first block punt being returned for a touchdown in DSU's football program's history. The final score from the game was 55-0, the first shutout in DSU's NCAA era and the largest margin of victory in the program's history. The Trailblazers look to continue their momentum into their next game at South Dakota Mines on Saturday, September 28th at 6 p.m. As soon as I saw Connor Miller break through the line and got his hands up, oh my. Wow, I was just jumping up and down, just really, I was pumped for that touchdown.
Yeah, and it was so cool to see that the largest marginal win, like 55-0, is something to celebrate.
Yeah, something to celebrate, definitely.
That's no small feat, but I'm also looking forward to women's volleyball. Hope they continue their winning streak on the road.
Yes, most definitely.
All right, and that's it for this week's Dixie Sun News at noon.
Catch us here next week, same time, same place.
Have a great week, Trailblazers.